October 24, 1942. Guadalcanal, the Lunga perimeter. If hell exists on Earth, it looks like Guadalcanal. 100 degrees humidity, rotting vegetation, malaria mosquitoes the size of dimes, and mud that sucks the boots off your feet. Sergeant John Basilone, Manila John, commanded 2 heavy machine gun sections of the 1st Battalion, 7th Marines. His job was to defend a narrow, muddy ridge just south of Henderson Field. Henderson Field was the prize. If the Japanese took the airfield, the U.S. Navy would lose the Pacific. Basilone checked his perimeter. He had 15 men. He had barbed wire, and he had his babies. The Browning M1917A1 heavy machine guns. These weren't light rifles. These were 40-pound industrial killing machines. They were water-cooled. They fed from 250-round fabric belts. They could fire 600 rounds per minute, as long as you kept them wet. If the water jacket ran dry, the barrel would warp and seize in 60 seconds. Basilone knew the mechanics of his gun better than he knew his own family. Tonight, that knowledge would be the only thing keeping him alive. 2,200 hours. Rain began to fall. Heavy, tropical rain that turned the world into a blur of gray and black. Intelligence reported that the Japanese Sendai Division was gathering in the jungle. This wasn't a patrol. It was a regiment, 3,000 men. General Maruyama had ordered a Banzai charge. The strategy was simple: human wave. They would throw bodies at the American guns until the Americans ran out of bullets. Basilone heard them before he saw them. The sound of thousands of boots sucking in the mud, the clinking of bayonets, the chanting. Then the jungle exploded. Banzai! A wall of screaming soldiers emerged from the tree line. They weren't using tactics. They were running straight into the wire. Grenades flew through the air. Mortars slammed into the mud. The smell of cordite mixed with the smell of wet earth. Open fire! Basilone racked the bolt. The M1917A1 roared to life. Chuck, 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 chuck. The heavy .30-06 rounds tore into the first wave. At this range, 30 yards, the bullets didn't just stop men, they disassembled them. The physics of the M1917 are brutal. The recoil is absorbed by the heavy tripod. The gun doesn't jump, it vibrates. Basilone swung the barrel left and right, mowing the lawn. The water in the cooling jacket began to hiss. Steam rose from the gun. He was firing so fast, the loader couldn't keep up. Ammo! I need ammo! His men were scrambling in the mud, dragging 18-pound ammo boxes. The Japanese were falling on the wire, piling up. But for every man that fell, 2 more climbed over the bodies. They were using the dead as a bridge.
Then, the nightmare scenario. The gun on Basilone's right flank went silent. Jammed? Crew dead? If that gun was down, the Japanese would pour through the gap and flank them. The entire line would collapse. Basilone didn't call for a volunteer. He grabbed a 40-pound machine gun receiver in his arms, hot steel and all, and sprinted through the mud to the silent position. He found the crew disabled. He slammed his gun onto the tripod. But in the darkness, he fumbled with the belt. Mud got into the receiver. The gun jammed. The Japanese were 10 yards away, bayonets fixed, charging. Basilone pulled his Colt .45 pistol. He shot the first 2 attackers point blank. Then, in the pitch black, by touch alone, he stripped the hot machine gun, cleared the mud, reassembled the bolt, and racked it. He did in 10 seconds what usually takes 30. He pulled the trigger just as the next wave hit the sandbags. The gun roared. The line held. 0100 hours. The battle had been raging for 3 hours non-stop. The M1917 machine gun is a marvel of engineering, but it obeys the laws of thermodynamics. Friction creates heat. Inside the barrel, the friction of copper-jacketed bullets traveling at 2,800 feet per second raised the temperature of the steel to over 1,000 degrees. The water in the cooling jacket was boiling. You could hear it screaming. Steam hissed from the relief valve like a tea kettle from hell. If the water evaporated completely, the barrel would warp. The gun would jam permanently, and then they would die. Basilone's loader shouted, "Water! We're dry!" They had used all the water in the cans. They had used the water from their canteens. The river was too far. The rain wasn't filling the jacket fast enough. The gun was starting to glow dull red in the dark. It was dying of thirst. Basilone didn't hesitate. He knew the chemistry of survival. "Piss in it!" he screamed. It wasn't a joke. It was a tactical necessity. Under heavy mortar fire, with bullets snapping overhead like angry bees, the Marines unbuttoned their flies. They urinated into the machine gun's water jacket. The smell of boiling urine mixed with the stench of cordite and rotting jungle vegetation. It was vile. It was disgusting. And it worked. The liquid cooled the steel. The temperature dropped. The bolt cycled. Chug, chug, chug. The gun roared back to life, spitting death at the Japanese wave just as they reached the barbed wire. American biological improvisation saved American steel.
But solving the heat problem created a new problem: ammo. 2 heavy machine guns firing at a cyclic rate of 600 rounds per minute consume ammunition at a terrifying speed. The belts were gone. The boxes were empty. The rear supply dump was 150 yards behind them, through a gauntlet of mud and Japanese infiltrators. Basilone couldn't send a runner. They were too scared or too young. "Keep firing the pistols," he ordered. He grabbed 2 empty ammo boxes and jumped out of the trench. He ran through the mud. He wasn't crawling, he was sprinting. Japanese bullets tore up the ground around his feet. He reached the supply dump, grabbed 100 pounds of ammunition belts, threw them over his shoulders like bandoliers, and ran back. He did this not once, not twice, but continuously. He became a one-man logistics train, fueling the kill zone with his own sweat. 0300 hours. The Japanese flanked the position. Basilone realized his gun had a bad angle. He needed to move it. The M1917 weighs 47 pounds. The tripod weighs 53 pounds. And the barrel was searing hot. Usually you use an asbestos mitt to move a hot gun. In the chaos, the mitt was lost. Basilone didn't have time to look for it. He grabbed the barrel with his bare hands. The skin on his palms sizzled. The pain must have been blinding. Third-degree burns, searing the nerves instantly. But the adrenaline was stronger than the pain. He lifted the machine gun, cradled the burning steel against his chest, and ran to a new position. He slammed it down and immediately opened fire. He literally burned pieces of himself to keep that gun fighting. By 400 hours, the battlefield had changed. The sheer efficiency of Basilone's gunnery created a gruesome problem. The Japanese dead were piling up in front of the gun nest. First, they were piles. Then, they were mounds. Finally, they became a wall. The wall of corpses was so high that it started to block Basilone's line of sight. He couldn't shoot the living because the dead were in the way. The Japanese were using the bodies of their comrades as sandbags, crawling behind them to get close enough to throw grenades. Basilone had to stand up, fully exposed to enemy fire, to shoot over the wall of bodies. He was standing on top of his trench laughing like a madman, firing his pistol in one hand and swinging a machete in the other at any Japanese soldier who climbed over the corpse wall. He had entered a state of berserker fury.
5:30 hours. The sun rose over Guadalcanal. The rain stopped. The screaming stopped. The guns finally went cold. As the light hit the jungle, the Marines looked over the sandbags. They gasped. It wasn't a battlefield. It was a carpet. The entire clearing was covered in the bodies of the Sendai Division. In front of Basilone's gun, the dead were stacked 5 deep. Intelligence later counted the bodies. Over 3,000 Japanese soldiers had attacked the line. The 1st Battalion, 7th Marines, held them back. Basilone sat in the mud next to his gun. His hands were wrapped in bloody rags. His face was black with soot. He lit a cigarette. He didn't look like a hero. He looked like a man who had seen the end of the world and survived. Basilone was awarded the Medal of Honor, the highest military decoration in the United States. But the Marine Corps didn't send him back to the fight. They sent him home. They turned him into a celebrity. He went on a war bond tour. He stayed in luxury hotels. He dated movie stars. He shook hands with politicians. He was safe. But inside, John Basilone was dying. Every night, while civilians bought him drinks, he heard the screams of his friends on Guadalcanal. He felt the guilt of the survivor. He famously told his commanders, "I ain't no officer. I ain't no museum piece. I belong with my boys." Being a hero was harder than being a gunner. 1944. Basilone did the unthinkable. He turned down a commission. He turned down a safe instructor job. He demanded to be sent back to the Pacific. The Marine Corps tried to say no. He insisted. He was assigned to the 5th Marine Division. He trained a new generation of machine gunners. He taught them everything he knew about heat, mud, and killing. He told them, "We are going to a place called Iwo Jima, and I'm going to make sure you come back." He wasn't going back for glory. He was going back because he was a Marine, and Marines don't let their brothers fight alone.
February 19th, 1945. Iwo Jima. The sands were black. The air was filled with sulfur and shrapnel. The Marines were pinned down on the beach by Japanese bunkers. It was a slaughter. Gunnery Sergeant John Basilone didn't take cover. He stood up. He kicked his men forward. "Get off the beach! Move out!" He single-handedly attacked a Japanese blockhouse. He guided a tank through a minefield under heavy fire. For 90 minutes, he was the god of war again. Then, a mortar shell landed. There were no last words, no speeches, just a flash. John Basilone died face down in the black sand of Iwo Jima. He was 28 years old. John Basilone is the only enlisted Marine in World War II to receive both the Medal of Honor and the Navy Cross. His story teaches us the brutal truth about war. Heroism isn't about being fearless. It's about doing your job when your hands are burning and your friends are dying. He held the line on Guadalcanal. He died leading the way on Iwo Jima. He could have stayed home. He could have lived a long life. But that wasn't Manila John. If this story fired you up, hit that like button. Subscribe for more stories of the men who built history with their blood. Semper Fi.